What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Let us fire it up. I'm going to get so owned in this game. It's time that we get to the Steam Top 50 and seeing what the latest trends are. Gary's mod. There's TF2. It's usually around somewhere. Woo! Oh, it's snakes. Does it just have really high retention? This genre is still viable. Or you just gotta shoot his butt. There was kind of a trend for a while. Like that is just the way things work. We did it! What is up, chums? Happy Friday to you all. And lots of interesting stuff to go over. But yeah, first let's get started. About a year ago, we played Hades, the first game that we played from the Epic Store, just to see, you know, what it was like. And since then, it has come out on Steam a year later, along with Ashen, which we'll check out in a second. I believe they're the first two Epic exclusive games to come out on Steam, and so I was closely watching to see how they would do. Ashen, when it launched, it was in the top charts for a while, and then it dropped out fairly quickly. And Hades launched at a somewhat similar position in the top sellers charts, but then it just stuck around. Now, unfortunately, right now the top sellers charts are all messed up because of the winter sale, so we can't really look at it, but you'll have to take my word for it that Hades, I think it debuted on its launch day around like 10 or something like that on the top sellers, and then it seemed to like climb up to around 7 or 8 area, and it was going strong. It was still hanging out there, you know, as of the time that the winter sale started and screwed everything up. So that's a really good result. It was like at least a week of being in the top sellers chart, and you can see it's already got 3,000 reviews, which is pretty nuts. So I'm not sure what the rest of you were anticipating, but for me, I was not expecting it to have this strong of a launch. I'm very glad that it has, but I guess I expected more of an impact from the Epic exclusivity. But yeah, let me know how the rest of you expected it to go. I thought that, you know, it's a good game. We saw this last year when we played it, and we're going to play it again later to see what has changed. And I thought that, you know, it would get into the charts for sure, but I didn't expect it to stick around this long. So it's great to see. So yeah, let's check out the new trailer that they made for it. It starts out with like a super quick, super giant thing, which is neat. I approve of that. Much better than the usual like 10 seconds of logo. They did like less than a second of it. Oh, I didn't realize this is a 3-minute trailer. You think a lot of people waited for this release and got impatient? Yeah, well, I kind of expected them to launch, like to end their early access right on Steam launch, but it's still in early access and still selling this well, which again is, you know, even more impressive. He's never had a coming soon page on Steam before it went to Epic. Are you sure, Tyler? I think my colleague Andy Wynn thought that it had one up since August. I'm not sure how he came up with that information, but hey, Tic Tac, how you doing? I'm not sure how he came up with that number or information, but if anyone can corroborate that, if there's a way to find out when it went live on the store, that would be useful to know. Because yeah, if it didn't even have a coming soon page and didn't have wish lists stored up, and then it had this result, that's even more impressive. SteamDB would give that info. Yeah, this trailer is unusually long. I'm surprised it doesn't say like early access on Steam or something like that. One thing I did want to point out is early in the trailer, it's got a very cool line: a godlike roguelike. Gotta love the solid play on words there. Seems like first discussion in Hades Steam pages from August. Yeah, I think that's what Andy was looking at, as he looked at the community and was seeing when, because like I guess you shouldn't be able to have any community activity unless you have a store page, right? So August would mean they had like 4 months or so of coming soon to collect wish lists. So you know, that would have helped. I think that would help give them the day one spike, but it wouldn't account for you know, the length of time that they've spent in the top sellers. So Gray saying that roguelikes are popular in trailers, goes over all the mechanics, seems like a good tactic for the crowd. Yeah, well, you can't argue with the with the results, but usually, at least what I would do is I would show your short minute or less hype trailer to get people excited, and then you have the longer, more explanatory trailer afterwards, but they did it the other order. And yeah, the gift copy of Pyre is a neat idea. It makes sense to try to, give something back to your fans who were patiently waiting for it on Steam. So that may also be having an impact. It's the giftable copy is only through January 2nd. And actually, I didn't realize before, it's not just a free copy, it's a giftable copy. So if you already have Pyre because you're a big Supergiant fan, you can still give it to someone else. So it has value for you even if you already own the game. But yeah, it has surprised me how well it's doing. I'm pleasantly surprised and happy for the awesome folks over at Supergiant that it's doing so well. But yeah, like it's obviously a roguelike game, which is a viable genre, 98% positive, so people are very happy with it. And yeah, we played it a year ago, and it is fun. Yeah, the only thing that I guess surprised me a little is that the hooks of this game are the polish, the art style, the awesome audio and things like that. There's not, from what I recall playing it last year, a significant unique gameplay hook or something like that. So yeah, people are primarily buying it because viable genre, looks and sounds beautiful, plays well, obviously must not be very buggy either if it's got this kind of review rating, and also there's just lots of fans of Supergiant who are probably waiting for it as well. Yeah, the Epic backlash was all hot air. I did keep an eye on their community hub during their launch window, and there were certainly people saying, hey, I'm not buying this because of the Epic exclusive thing, that I otherwise would have bought it, or I'm going to boycott your company and things like that. Their community manager has been handling it extremely well, in my opinion. Very professionally and politely, doing, I think, it absolutely perfectly, and it's contained the anger. There hasn't really been that much of it, and it doesn't seem to obviously have affected the sales much. So yeah, it does seem like there are some folks who are, upset about the exclusivity thing, and I can understand why, but it doesn't seem to have had a huge impact on the results. So yeah, we'll play Hades a little later in the Clark Tank and see what has changed, and see if there's some things in the game itself that would help us to understand the sales results. But yeah, as of right now, I think it's just viable genre, super polished game. Supergiant is a company with lots of fans, and people know that they always deliver high quality games. You have the 98% review score, the giftable copy of Pyre, all these things, and collecting Wishlists since August. Yeah, all these things seem to have added up to a strong launch, which is awesome for Supergiant and anyone else who has got a game that's going to be exclusive on the Epic Store like us. So it's excellent. All right, so Ashen was the other game that came out. It was actually the day before Hades, and it has had mixed results, and like I said, it dropped off much more quickly from the top sellers. So let's check out its trailer. Tomer saying that old review copies to sold ratios has changed. Yeah, that's for sure. But I was just looking at it every day in the top sellers charts to see where it was, and it was always in the top 10. So they've probably made well over $1 million already, and will go on to make multiple millions more by the looks of it, which is great. Well, that's a creepy red-eyed thing. It looks beautiful. It looks interesting. That it looks like the type of thing that would work well with the Steam audience, and yet it hasn't, not to the same degree as Hades, at least. The reviews are mixed, and I did take a look at the reviews to see what people were talking about. That trailer, just in general, was quiet. So yeah, mixed to 69%. It's close to. Yeah, people saying that it's not as Souls-like as they were hoping, or that they would rather just play a Souls game. Yeah, it's tough to make a game in that vein, because you're always going to be compared to those extremely well executed games. Steam users definitely do like Souls-like games. There are many indie Souls-like games, especially 2D ones, that have done quite well. So yeah, I would have expected this to do well, but perhaps it's just For some reason, the gameplay, it's not resonating. So this came out first on the 9th, and then Hades came out on the 10th, and seeing this, hit the top sellers charts, but then fairly rapidly decline, was a bit concerning to me, because I thought, oh, maybe that is the effect that Epic exclusivity can have on a game. But then the next day, Hades launched, and it just stuck around. So obviously, different games are different, but Hades has proven that, launching on Epic and having 12 months exclusivity is not, a death sentence for your Steam results by any stretch, because Hades is doing quite well. So anyway, that's great news. Other Steam stuff, there's a few Steam things to go over. Valve posted a fall recap of all the things that they've been adding to Steam lately. They launched the library update, which is super cool. I do like how the library looks now, and the Hades library page is quite pretty. So yeah, I think that was smart. They launched the remote play together thing, which is, just another awesome feature that, gives devs something for free just by being on the Steam platform, which is super cool. I haven't actually tried it yet myself, but I know other folks have, and they're pretty happy with how it went. Some other folks at BYG have been doing it just as a way of getting other friends to try stuff that they wouldn't otherwise try with them, and then maybe after that they buy it. So I'm not sure if there's a way to tell how often people will buy after having used remote play together, but it must be having some effect. The other thing they added recently is DAU reporting, which is cool. I don't know if many of you have checked this out, but it did make me realize something. Before this, it was always possible to see how many people are playing your game at any given time, and you could see it, over the course of a day. And with Necrodancer, there's usually 100 to 200 or something like that people playing the game at any time, and that's been the case for years and years since the game came out. But until we had this DAU tool, I didn't realize just how many people that meant there were playing it per day. And it's many thousands. I think it's usually at least 5,000 or something like that per day, which is a lot. I guess that's more than I expected, because if 100 or 200 people are playing it, if they're playing it for a long time, then that could mean that there was only 1,000 people playing the game or something like that per day. But perhaps because Necrodancer has a daily challenge, people might be popping in, playing the daily challenge for 20 minutes and then leaving. So our active users is not a good reflection of the total number of users that come every day. So yeah, 5,000 per day, it made me realize that if we ever did decide to do more games in the Necrodancer universe or something like that, we should probably update the Necrodancer main menu to have information saying oh, now there's a new game in the Necrodancer universe or something. Click here to go to it on Steam. And as long as you're linking to another Steam page, I'm sure Valve would be fine with that sort of cross promotion. If it's going back to your store page or where they can buy games on other platforms, they probably wouldn't like that. But yeah, 5,000 a day, and it's probably not the same 5,000 every day. So that's, I would also like to see MAU, monthly active users, but I don't think that they currently have that. But anyway, it's free advertising to thousands and thousands of people. So anyway, take a look at what it is for your games. It opened my eyes a bit. Streamlined setting player categories. So yeah, it used to be, some of the back end for setting up your store page and stuff like that is a little bit, hard to understand, with some things seeming to be duplicated. But it looks like they fixed that. I haven't actually gone and looked at this yet because I haven't launched a game on Steam in a little while, but we'll be doing that in the future again, I'm sure, with Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade. Streamlined setting tags. So this is probably more important. So we've talked about it before on the Clark Tank, how you should, as the developer with the account that owns the game, go to this store page for your game. So not using the back-end systems, but using the actual Steam store. Go to your page and tag your own game, because supposedly the developers' tags do have more weight in some capacity than tags from just users. So they were telling you Steam was saying that, yeah, we should do this, but not all developers knew it. Valve was telling us that we should do it. But yeah, now it looks like it's right there in the back end. So yeah, this is just another example of us telling things to Valve and them listening and making some changes. So thanks, Valve, for doing that. Increased possible achievement size. So yeah, with people having 4K monitors and whatnot, the little tiny achievement images could be pretty darn small. So it looks like they're allowing you to make 256 by 256 achievement images. And localized trading cards, which is good. It only makes sense with the rise of China and other parts of the world in terms of their share of Steam sales to make it so we can localize everything. And this is a big one, support for localized game names. So yeah, we've talked about it before on the Clark Tank, where a lot of games these days have an English title and then Chinese characters as well, or vice versa, the Chinese name first and then the English name after, because it was not possible to actually localize your game name, but now you can. It's tricky though whether or not you should, especially with a game like Necrodancer. Like, there's no way to make a good translation of a word like Necrodancer, because obviously it's an English play on words. But anyway, I think for things like Industries of Titan, we're probably going to do that. I think we actually recently trademarked a translation of Industries of Titan in China, so we'll probably use that name on the store interface as well. And yeah, now there's a Steamworks Twitter account because yeah, they post about, well, of course, the sales and things like that, but they also posted a link to this recap. So it's just another way to ensure that you don't miss out on what is changing at Steam. All right, yeah, the last bit of Steam-related news to go over is the winter sale. And it looks like this time they're incentivizing you to do slightly different things, and then you can spend your tokens on stuff in the market. So somewhat similar to some of the mechanics they've used in the past, but this time they're getting you to interact with the interactive recommender. So make a wish. So this is adding stuff to your wish list. We have noticed a spike in wish lists for Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade since the sale started. We also noticed a spike in removals, although the additions are outpacing the removals. But that happens every time that there's a Steam sales. I think people go through and look at their wish list and see what's on sale. And sometimes they might tidy things up. And they remove some games that are on there that they're no longer interested in, I suppose. So yeah, this is Lars's thing. You get 100 points if you take a deep dive in his diving bell. I guess it's not called the diving bell anymore. Well, yeah, it's cool. That's another thing that we were hoping that Valve would do, is bring those experiments more mainstream, so that it wouldn't just be nerds like us who are interested in discoverability that would be using these tools. It would just be actual Steam users. And now that is certainly what's going to be happening. Those tools are going to be getting pounded with massive amounts of traffic because of the sale. So yeah, hopefully that means that Valve is getting some good data on if, you know, this new type of discovery system actually improves sales or improves customer happiness and things like that. And I hope it does, because I personally like Lars's tool and the interactive recommender. I find that they give me recommendations better than what Steam's like default algorithm ever did. Did I talk about coupon cross promotion? No, I did not. Yeah, I could talk about that. We did a coupon cross promo with the folks from Book of Demons. So yeah, basically you can set these things up by talking to Valve directly and saying, like, we and this other developer would like to send coupons to our people who own our games, and I imagine Valve wouldn't always say yes. They have to think that the two games are at least like somewhat related and are noteworthy enough to be worth Valve's time setting up the coupon drop and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the results that the Book of Demons folks had, because that's their data to share. But I think that we saw maybe 3,000 or so sales and close to like 20,000 in revenue bump. Which is good, but not a huge amount. It's $20,000 is better than nothing to sneeze at, for sure. but it's less than what we would get if we put Necrodancer on like a weekly sale or something like that. Still definitely worth doing and worth the time, talking to Valve to set it up. In this case, it was the Book of Demons folks who instigated it. But their results were even better than ours, I assume because Necrodancer has more total units sold, so the number of people who got their coupon would be higher than the people who got our coupon. But yeah, if you know a developer that has a game that's somewhat related to yours, it can be worthwhile seeing if you can do a coupon drop with them by talking to Valve. Yeah, I don't know if you want to do it all the time. Your fans might get pissed off about the spam or something like that, but doing it every now and then certainly makes sense. So yeah, we'll probably try it again in the future, maybe when we have things to announce or something like that, or certainly if we ever make another game in the Necrodancer universe, we would do coupon drops with the 2 games, that sort of thing. You always find it annoying to keep getting coupons for games you've set to ignore. Oh, it's supposed to be ignoring them, but it's not. That would be frustrating. So yeah, this is stuff that Steam Labs has got brought up for us, but yeah, I'm not logged in, so it probably I'm just reviewing it on the web without logging in, so it can't do anything too fancy. But yeah, it's cool that people are getting rewarded for checking out the Steam Lab stuff. Hopefully Valve will make a blog post or something like that to let us know what the results are of all the additional data. All right, now I've been saying for a while that it's difficult to get data on what games are selling well on Switch. So I always keep an eye out for any kind of bestsellers announcement. It came from a Reddit post where Nintendo revealed this on a news post on the actual Switch, so somebody must have transcribed this somehow. So yeah, let's take a look at what's selling this last month. Fortnite is usually near the top, Smash of course. Pokemon Sword and Shield are separated. If you put them together, I would imagine they would be above Smash. Luigi's Mansion 3 is doing really well. Developed by folks here in Vancouver too. Minecraft, not surprising. Breath of the Wild, Preventative Strike. What even is this? Was it just on sale big time? It might have been one of those on sale for $1 kind of things. I would imagine so based on this gameplay. Huh. Okay, not the type of game you would normally expect to see in the top sellers, but yeah, it's a $1. I wonder if, or $2. I wonder if it was on sale and making it even cheaper, because then sometimes that helps games to sneak into the top sellers charts. Because yeah, usually these are based on units sold. Super cheap. Goose Game, not surprising. Rocket League, Cuphead, these are all usually around there. Dragon Ball, Mad Age, and this guy. Yeah, this probably also just was heavily discounted. Not that it's a bad game or anything, but it's not the type of thing that would be in the top sellers. Huh. Yeah, I wonder if Nintendo is ever going to change the way that works. Overcooked makes sense. Pokemon Sword and Shield Double Pack. Again, yeah, if they combined that with these, it would be possibly even number 1. Just Dance, Stardew, Fire Emblem, Mario Party, Quest for the Golden Duck. I don't know this one. Yeah, this just must have been on sale big time. Crazy. Overwatch, Crypt of the Necrodancer. Hey, look at that. Ori and the Blind Forest, and this is because we were on sale. We were part of some kind of promotion. I can't remember what it was. Ori and the Blind Forest, Rabbids, Unravel, Mario Sonic, Taiko no Tatsujin, Drum and Fun. It's like a taiko drumming game. Neat. Mario Kart 8, Civ 6, Asphalt Legends 9. Necrodancer doing better than Cadence? Well, at that point it was. So Cadence of Hyrule, I think it's on sale right now still as well. We launched an update for Cadence of Hyrule recently. Taiko is one of the best Switch games. Oh, cool. Yeah, I probably would like it. I like rhythm games, of course. Yeah, that other game did look like Pac-Man for sure. So yeah, what can we conclude from this? Well, obviously the big Nintendo games, Smash and Pokemon and such, are doing well. But then also, yeah, key indie games like Cuphead, Goose Game, Overcooked, Stardew, and that's about it. So like, yeah, the indie kind of superstar games just are perennially in the top sellers, so they must just be selling extremely well. It's a little tricky. It doesn't seem to have nearly as much churn as the Steam top sellers. It's just, you know, the core Nintendo games are always there, and then certain big indie games are always there. There's no new indie game here that's surprising me on this list. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, but I guess the moral of the story is make a huge hit indie game, and then you'll do well on the Switch. Yeah, all right, so now we'll check out a few blog posts from various folks in the indie sphere. This one is by our pal Victoria Tran from Kitfox Games, and she wrote an article about $0 marketing. But yeah, this is a great article from Victoria. You should definitely check it out. She starts off by saying that it's a clickbait title, though, because, you know, even though it's $0, like, they didn't spend money specifically on ads or influencers or anything like that. Obviously, Victoria's time is still valuable, and she gets paid a salary. Also, they do go to things like, you know, PAXs and E3 and whatnot. I saw them there with at E3 last year, and that stuff costs money too. So it's not totally $0, but it is, you know, on a budget, and it's the type of things that indies can do. So yeah, she talks about a few things that are pretty interesting. This, I hadn't heard of this or thought of it in this way before, the online buyer's journey. So it's talking about, first of all, of course, they have to see your game or your brand, and then that increases that makes them aware of it. And then they need to think about it. And there's a research and discovery loop here. So once they know about it, then perhaps they're thinking about whether or not they want to buy it. They might look elsewhere for information or reviews and things like that. Or they might just put it on the wish list and wait. They're just waiting and seeing. And then eventually, hopefully, you get them out of that loop into the purchase phase. And then after that, there's another loop where, through their interactions with the game or with your community or your socials and things like that, you kind of retain their loyalty or their awareness, and then you might be able to translate that into awareness of your next game or your DLC or your updates or whatever. So loops in loops, yeah. Well, it's an interesting way to think about things, and Victoria is saying that when she does any kind of marketing activity or community activity, she's thinking about what part of this is she impacting. So if it's always like, if you're buying ads or something like that, it would be the awareness. Or if, what would you do to affect the think? I guess if you're sending them a newsletter, if they've already signed up for your newsletter and you're telling them now it's on sale, or now we added DLC or something like that, they're already aware of you, but you're giving them more information that might convince them to go to do a purchase. And then also loyalty. So, if they're already following you on socials, just keeping them up to date, keeping them entertained, keeping them engaged so that they don't unfollow you and stuff like that, so that when you do have something new for them to be aware of or something for them to purchase, you'll be able to connect with them. So, yeah, consideration, I guess, would be updating your Steam page. Yeah, or even just doing updates to the game. If they see they haven't bought it yet, but they see frequent updates, that would be another thing that would affect your think. So yeah, Victoria's just saying that you should consider your efforts and make sure that you're not only focusing on the see phase or the care phase or something like that, which I think is a very good point. She's also talking about making sure that your game stands out and has hooks, which of course is stuff that we talk about a lot on the Clark Tank. She even used a screenshot of Necrodancer. Thanks, Victoria. Here she was just talking about the words that you use to describe your game, and I'll show you what I did with Necrodancer. First of all, I kind of like to tell people that games are award-winning or have accolades up front like we do in our trailers, just to make it clear to them, just to remove any doubt in their mind that this game is garbage or not worth paying attention to or whatever. So if you can catch their attention and get them to give you the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of your trailer or at the beginning of your store description, I think it's probably worthwhile. I think it's probably not always, but in this case, I went for that. And then, as Chris has said in his articles where he looks at people's browsing habits on Steam, I think it's important to get across the genre pretty quickly. So that's why I say hardcore roguelike rhythm game up front, partly because I want people to know what type of game it is so they can see, if they are a roguelike person or a rhythm person, that they'll stick around and investigate further, watch the whole trailer, look at the screenshots, stuff like that. But also because this is partly the hook, one of the hooks of the game is that it's a roguelike rhythm game, so it's both of those together, which certainly will make people sit up and wonder, how does that work? And then, this is the line that Victoria mentioned in her article. I said, move to the music and deliver beatdowns to the beat. So just trying to show you a little bit about what you do in the game, but also make it clear that it's a unique thing that you probably haven't done before. Get you curious about how that actually works. Then I mentioned Danny, his soundtrack here. There are a fair number of folks who know him from previous games, so I thought that might help to get them interested. And then you can play songs from your own MP3 collection. That's a unique feature. Now, we know actually that probably less than 1% of people who buy Necrodancer actually do use that, but I do think that it's a kind of a hooky thing that, like, this is something that you can't do in many other games. So that's why I put in all of these different bits of information. Obviously, it seems to work. Our game sells reasonably well. I don't know how much of it is because of this, but yeah, this is better than what Victoria is talking about here, where some people just say, it's a story-driven puzzle narrative game with awesome graphics or something like that. Those are just too generic. You have to use terminology that makes it clear why your game is different from the other story-driven narrative games. But yeah, you should still mention genre, of course, because people need to know what type of game it is. She also talks about different types of hooks, how you should make them clear on your store page. Talking about the Steam capsule, this little tiny image here and how important it is. And it sounds like they actually have done a lot of iteration on it. They used to have this one, then this one, now they're on this one, based on how well they perform. So you can actually see in the Steam backend the percentages. And one of their games has like a 30.15% click-through rate. But she is saying that it's a more recently announced game, so that might make it higher. I'm not sure. I haven't looked again in the back end to see, but it might be possible to filter out click-through rate based on like where in the store they are clicking on it from. Because if you could, that would be useful, because you're not sure if these four rates here are comparing apples to apples. Because ideally, you'd want it from like if they are just looking at the top sellers page or a tag page or something like that. That way you could be sure that you're comparing the same sort of thing. Because this Mondo Museum one, it might be all from the search bar. Because if people if they heard about Mondo Museum on Twitter or something like that, and they type in Mondo Museum in the search bar, then yeah, of course they're going to click on Mondo Museum when it pops up in the search bar. That's not because of the capsule being awesome. It's because that was what they were intending to find when they went to Steam. So it would be nice if you could exclude search bar or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's possible. Yeah, and then she goes on to talk about strategies for getting the attention of press. She's talking about is that press person personally interested in your type of game? Do you have something newsworthy to share with them? And then the personal angle. I think the personal angle is especially important. I remember I was on a panel once with a member of the press, and we were talking about what makes games stand out, what makes games noteworthy enough that the press will pay attention to it. And he was the moderator and was asking questions of us, and I turned it around and asked him, like, what for you, what types of things gets you excited about a game and makes you more likely to want to write an article about it. And he said, yeah, a personal angle, because everyone is going to have, if a new noteworthy game comes out, everyone is, most of the sites are going to talk about it and list the features and things like that. But that's sort of standard and boring. If there's some angle, like with Cadence of Hyrule, that, it was a indie Zelda game, that's a unique thing. But yeah, even better with indies, it's like a personal angle. And I think Victoria talks about, if you have, it's related to an experience someone on your team went through something, and that caused you to want to create this game. People like writing articles about that sort of thing, and that's a unique thing that we can do as indies compared to AAA. It's harder for them with 300-400 person teams to have a personal angle, unless it's like a game by Kojima or something where they're talking to and about Kojima a lot. She's also talking about influencers and how to connect with them, slightly different than press folks, and then what you should be doing with your social media as well, how to attract folks to your channels, which channels to be using. She also talks about newsletters and things like that and how effective they are, which Chris has also covered in the past. But yeah, in general, it's super good stuff from Victoria, and then she's also showing some of the silly stuff that she does on Twitter. I really like how she handles Kitfox's Twitter. It's very, very entertaining stuff. But anyway, check out the whole article. That was just a quick recap. And now a couple other blog posts that I think we should go over. This is the Chris portion of our stream. He made 2 posts since we last streamed. And his first one is talking about how Steam is kind of like JC Penney. And if you're not aware, JC Penney is a store in the US that is kind of known for having lots of sales. So whenever you go in there, there's going to be a variety of things on sale, and they have coupons and flyers and things like that to make you aware of all the cool deals that you can get. And back in 2012, they had a changing of the guard, I guess. They had a new CEO, and he said that he was going to change everything and just make honest pricing. Oh yeah, the link here, I'll post it. Just honest pricing so that people didn't have to worry about bargain hunting and whatnot. They were just going to make all of their prices just lower by default, rather than the way they did it previously, where their prices were somewhat higher, but then they would discount them a lot. And apparently that was a total failure, and they had to totally roll it back and go back to the old way with lots of discounts and things like that. Even though on average it might have been better for consumers, they enjoyed, the thrill of the hunt, and it felt like, the store was not quite the same without it. And Chris is saying that that Steam is somewhat similar to this, and it's definitely true. There's always some kind of sale going on. There's always something that you could get for 70-80% off, which is cool. And then adding in Wishlists and the big sale events and whatnot, there's always exciting stuff going on Steam. But it kind of goes against somewhat the fact that they used to have flash sales, and they stopped doing them. Like during the winter and summer sales, they used to have very short time period flash sales. So like for 12 hours, you could get an extra special deep discount on these select games, and Valve stopped doing that. And they said that they have seen better sales results since they've made that change, which is a bit surprising to me and goes a little counter to what the JC Penney analogy would suggest. You would think that those cool, exciting flash sales and whatnot would actually help to increase sales, but Valve stopped doing it, and they've said that the sales have been going better since. So, maybe there's a limit to how much you can push that kind of philosophy. Chris is suggesting, hey, maybe you should increase the price of your game somewhat higher than what you originally intended to price it, and then just do more discounting. I guess it may have encouraged some behavior that's not positive, where people would wait for a game just to see if it would go on a flash sale. So instead of just buying right away, so like if Necrodancer is 70% off and you're like, oh, but it's not in a flash sale, I'll wait and see if it goes to flash sale, maybe it'll get to be like 80% off or something like that. It caused people to wait, whereas now, as soon as the sale starts, you know what all the prices are, and those prices are going to be the same no matter what. So I guess you don't want to give the users reason to not buy, and that could be what the flash sale was doing. But time-limited things also do give you an incentive to buy now. So the things that were in the flash sale, they sold like crazy, and Necrodancer was in some of those flash sales back in the day. They sold like crazy because it was super time-limited, and people knew that you get it now or it's going to be gone, it's going to be more expensive. So if you were in the flash sale, it was amazing. But yeah, it may have affected the games that were not. Higher price makes sense, but can backfire on Steam reviews. Yeah, I agree with that. I think you don't want to push it too far. I do, like, Necrodancer is $15. I do wish that we had made it $20. No one ever says in the reviews that it's not worth the price or something like that. And if no one is ever saying it, it probably means that we could have priced it a bit higher, because if you hear it just very occasionally, that means that, yeah, some people might feel it, but the majority aren't, and so your price is probably more correct. So yeah, I think we would have done better with Necrodancer if we had priced it at 20 instead of 15. Yeah, Shovel Knight recently increased their price. That's true. I think they are extremely justified in doing that, though, because they've been working on Shovel Knight, adding features and content and whatnot for years and years and years and years, and they finally just like wrapped it up and put a bow on it and said, all right, here's one last big chunk of content, and then they increased the price. So yeah, that's the first article from Chris. Thank you, Chris. And here's the second one. And this is talking about Chris trying to do analysis of genres to figure out, is the genre that he is considering actually viable. So for his next game, he said he's considering going 2D side-scrolling roguelite. He's up against some tough competition with Noita. Yeah, Noita has been selling insanely well. I've been following it. It has so many reviews after not being out that long. So yeah, Chris in this article is talking about how he went and analyzed that genre to see if it's viable. And he's doing it in an interesting way that I hadn't really considered. He's talking about looking for games that are kind of not really the thought leaders, the ones that you know about, like Dead Cells and Spelunky, but other ones like Dungreed that do well despite you not really knowing too much about them. So I think we talked about Dungreed before. I'm pretty sure when it came out, we were surprised by how well it was doing as well. But we looked into it, and some folks on the Clark Tank talked about there was some community stuff going on that was part of the reason that it was doing so well. There's also its humor is a very big part of it, I believe. But yeah, if you're just watching these trailers, it would just seem like a sort of standard roguelite. But yeah, Chris was talking about using... So last Clark Tank, or the one before, we talked about Danny Weinbaum posted a blog where he scraped a bunch of data from Steam and made it so that you could use his spreadsheet to look at the results of various games with different tags. So yeah, Chris is talking about how he drilled down into it, selecting only games that are pretty similar to his and narrowing it down similar to his idea. So there are 42 2D platformer roguelikes, in the same area as his. And yeah, he's trying to find games that look ugly yet still earn a lot, or look great but underperform, made by solo devs, so he can take a look at the scope. Yeah, by looking at this, doing it qualitatively like this, trying to find sort of outliers you could learn from each one, which I think is a smart thing to do. A game that diverged from the typical art style. So yeah, first he was saying games that embody the typical grimdark art style like this, and then there's another one that's cutesy. So yeah, this one very very grimdark for sure, the usual sort of color palette you'd expect. But yeah, then Goner is more whimsical and wiggly and colorful. But I do still think that Goner feels kind of grim. It's weird, like these creatures and stuff are spooky. If you're new to analyzing Steam, how do you go about estimating historical trends for genres and their future viability? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I guess you could look at Danny Weinbaum's data, and then you would actually have to like manually plot it over time. So Danny Weinbaum's data just like groups games by tag and then shows you the sales results and breaks it down into different chunks. But yeah, if you just found all the games with that tag that you're thinking of, You could use the same method that Danny did for estimating the sales, and then graph it over time if you want to see what that the trend is like. The problem is, unless you're choosing a tag that has a ton of data in it, it's going to be a ton of games in it. It's going to be pretty noisy. But it would be interesting if you just graphed a roguelike over time and saw how it did. I'd be curious to see what that looked like in case anybody out there wants to do such a thing. Analysis can lead you astray. Yeah, for sure. We do a lot of analysis here, but also a lot of it is just feel. You could just, if you pay attention, as we do in the Clark Tank over years and years and years, you can just feel it. Like, when was the last time there was a big roguelike hit? And Noita obviously is one, so it's not going away. But yeah, you just need to stay immersed in the field and in all the information, and you'll develop a feel for it as well. But yeah, data helps, but it can also mislead you. It's true. Whenever we've tried to put analytics in our games, I have found that it was not actually that useful for me. It's kind of hard to get. You have all this information, and you're like, well, what do I do with it? It doesn't always point the way to making it better. Yeah, someone also posted in our channel on Discord this link to Graphtreon, which I guess pays attention to Patreon stats. And here you can see, sorted by the most patrons, all Patreons by game creators. And we don't really pay too much attention to it because, I don't know, you certainly can make a decent amount of money. Like $50K a month is nothing to sneeze at. But for me, at least, we're trying to make, an indie studio. We have 25 employees, so even that much money would not be enough to sustain us. Because, I use Patreon. I back a few people. And I have certainly been aware that there are people making large amounts of money. So yeah, this one's creating Minecraft shaders, making $50,000 a month. It's insane. Paper miniatures. So yeah, a lot of this is not actually games. This is like nerd, like game-related entertainment. Skyrim Together. I don't know. Is this like Skyrim mods? This is Minecraft, mods basically. So it seems like if there's something that's big and popular like Skyrim or Minecraft, then you already have a huge audience that you could be tapping into, and then you can get more patrons that way. Let's see if we can find, the top one where they're actually making games. Okay, American McGee, so he's the one who made Alice and other games. What games is he making? So yeah, it looks like he must be making a new Alice game, and people are supporting him as he does that, which is cool. Based on these other numbers, these are in the, low thousands to tens of thousands. This one's 10,000. But these, okay, here's Dwarf Fortress. So yeah, maybe they're making, probably at most 10,000, 15,000 a month, which is enough certainly to support a few folks, but not a large team. But yeah, anyway, it's worth checking that out every now and then, but I think it just reconfirms my suspicions that if you want to be a small indie and your living expenses are low, then this sort of thing could work. It could help sustain you, like is happening with the Dwarf Fortress folks and Sockpop folks. But yeah, if you want to be a larger indie studio, it might be something that you could do in addition to what you normally do, but it's not going to be enough to generate funds to support your whole studio. All right, well, let's get to our homework and see what's new and selling on Steam. So this is the ICO Steam Newsletter, which you can sign up for if you want. And every week they tell you what are the top selling new games on Steam. So yeah, Boneworks we talked about last time, and it's selling well. I've heard people saying that it's kind of janky, but still feels revolutionary and very cool. GTFO, so this launched since the last Clark Tank. We should pay attention to it for sure because it is selling quite well. GTFO is a hardcore 4-player cooperative first-person shooter with a focus on team play and atmosphere. Features edge-of-your-seat suspense, team-based puzzle solving, and high-intensity combat. So yeah, this seems to be a genre on the rise. I don't know, Lars, is there a name for this kind of game? Because there are more and more of these types of games coming out. No, there's no, I don't know what you would call it, just like co-op shooter. It's no hand sim. Yeah, I saw that hand sim thing this week. It looks pretty silly. So yeah, that one is noteworthy. Transport Fever 2 also came out. Hades, of course, last year. Sayonara Wild Hearts, okay, it's on Steam now. Ashen, we talked about. Dragon Quest Builders. Now, I'm a bit surprised that this is not doing better. Let's take a look.
Well, hello there, builder.
That's a weird trailer. I don't know if... that didn't really hook me. Like, why would you want to build this weird computer? What is the point of that?
It's Dragon Quest Builders 2!
And this announcer dude is a bit over the top. They don't really show, like, why am I building these things? Just because? Calm down, guy. Calm down. Too cute for Steam, you think? They don't even have another trailer. Like, I played Dragon Quest Builders, the original one, on PS4. It's not really for me. It's kind of, I don't know, like quest-based building stuff. I didn't feel like, I don't know. I like having my own sorts of, being able to set my own sorts of goals and whatnot. But it was pretty handholdy through the beginning that I was playing, and I got turned off by it. Is there a demo? Yeah. And so you would expect that a Dragon Quest game, it's a pretty big thing from Square, but it would do well, but it's only got about 400 reviews. It dropped off much faster than I expected, so... yeah, so it's doing okay, but nowhere near what I would have expected it to do. So yeah, it is kind of cutesy as well, but... alright, moving on, let's look at the top 50. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be a bit skewed because of the winter sale going on. But let's take a look nonetheless, because there are some things in here that are noteworthy. I checked briefly. I took a sneaky peek before the Clark Tank started. So CSGO, looks like they got some kind of event going on because their little capsule was changed. RDR2 came out recently, so of course it's going to be in the charts. Dota, Sekiro is on sale, Monster Hunter is on sale, Star Wars, Tom Clancy. Halo has been doing extremely well, the Master Chief Collection, ever since it launched earlier this month. GTA is 50% off. Destiny has been doing well also since it launched. PUBG is on sale. Planet Zoo launched recently, and now it's on a tiny sale, but yeah, it was in the charts even when it wasn't on sale. Warframe's always doing well. Civ 6, not surprising. Path of Exile. Now this is a new one. Came out a couple days ago. A rhythm game. This is relevant to my interests. Also, it's kind of anime-ish. Also relevant to my interests. So, as far as I can tell, it's a DDR clone, but with like 6 buttons. Looks like 6 buttons. Yeah, so it looks like they have licensed music in this game from some artists that I've heard of, but the visuals are far more aggressive than the music. Yeah. Yeah, and there's no sound effects in any of this. And now they got like live action stuff going on, because I guess you can have music videos going on while you're playing. You're into Groove Coaster? Yeah, Groove Coaster's fun. So Marshmallow. I don't know who Porter Robinson is. I haven't heard of them. Yeah, that song was cool. I liked it, but yeah, the start a little slow for me, but overall, pretty good. So yeah, this came out a couple days ago, and 1,000 reviews already. So, but anyway, this is just showing that the rhythm genre is still strong, viable on Steam. Although this one has some, star power and whatnot backing it up, so it's a little less surprising that it's doing well. Elder Scrolls, Total War, Dark Souls, these are all on sale. Look at this wall of discounts here. All the usual suspects, Resident Evil, Rust, so GTFO we talked about. It's been in the top of the charts, like very near the top ever since it launched on the 9th. Assassin's Creed, Witcher, Disco Elysium, even before the sale. So I took a peek at the top sellers chart before the sale started because I knew that the sale was about to mess everything up. And yeah, Disco Elysium was still in the top 50 before the sale, despite, launching almost 2 months ago, more than 2 months ago. So pretty impressive how well this game is selling. Yeah, 6,000 reviews already in 2 months. Stardew, not surprising. Raft, Euro Truck, City Skylines. This is just like all of the big names that have been selling well over the last few years. This is a Monster Hunter expansion. Now, the fact that it's in the charts is pretty crazy because it's DLC that's not coming until January 9th, and it's in the charts during a Steam sale. And it's like, it's not even on sale. I don't understand how it's doing this well. I know Monster Hunter is huge, of course, but Divinity 2, Total War 3 Kingdoms. I'm surprised this is not higher based on how well it sold at launch. We met some of the devs of this when we were in Korea recently. They were nice folks. Just talked to them very briefly, but yeah, maybe it's because it's only 20% off. I don't know, but I would expect it to be a little higher than this. Football Manager, Code Vein, Rocket League. Now, Age of Empires 2, this is not even on sale, so it's just doing extremely well. So Hades was in the top 10, and now it's down to 39 because of the sale, but still, this is a strong showing. Void Bastards was a Unity shooter. Yeah, it's true. New System Shock being made in Unity. Interesting. Devil May Cry 5 is free? Okay, it's not free. Why did it show it as free? Risk Rain 2. Yeah, we haven't seen this in the charts in a little while. Only 20% off. It's a little surprising considering it came out in March. But Resident Evil 3. So this is, again, quite impressive because it's not coming out for 4 more months. And it's in the charts. And it's not on sale. Ark on sale. Final Fantasy. Hellblade. World of Warships is usually around now. Octopath, Cyberpunk, also not launching for 4 months. Boneworks we talked about. Far Cry, Human Fall Flat. This is pretty good showing for... So most of these games that have been in the top charts that we've seen up till now are not really, not very many indie games. Not very many smaller games. TF2, Transport Fever just launched. Conan Exiles used to be a big seller, so it's not surprising to see it back. Jurassic World, Planet Coaster, so that's the older one. Total War, Planet Zoo, DayZ, so this is a DLC for Planet Zoo. Shadow War, Stellaris. So these are, it's mostly just, again, we knew it was going to be messed up because of the Steam winter sale, but yeah, this is all just like the games that sold well in the last year or two, they're back, and they're selling well again. Yeah, the Hellblade 2 trailer got a lot of people talking, so not too surprising to see Hellblade selling well again during the sale. Alright, top wish lists. Let's see if there's anything new in here. Cyberpunk, Outer Worlds, Dying Light, Death Stranding. I think it was there last Clark Tank. I think we talked about that. Mountain Blade, Biomutant, Hollow Knight, Half-Life Alyx, Goose Game. This must be getting so many wish lists. Dwarf Fortress is always in this part of the charts. Yeah, Crusader Kings 3. Is it like Death Stranding? It involves weird babies?
William.
Hang on. It's always interesting to see how they do their trailers for this type of game, because so much of what is fun about these games is like what's going on in your head as you play them. So typically the narration is important to sell that fantasy and sell how you're going to feel when you play it. So well, I'm gonna not blab and just listen.
Young William, you are the heir to a great legacy. There are many lessons to learn, young William. And today, you will learn the most important of all. Real strategy requires cunning.
Too many blankets? Yeah. You got kids, Chris? That's a parent kind of thing to say. Why did that snake bite him? He wasn't even doing anything. I don't know if snakes would do that. Huh. Interesting. So yeah, that trailer obviously trying to sell the power fantasy. I don't know, it was a little less involved than I was expecting, but it may just be like an early teaser. This is a strange capsule image. Yeah, this is a strange choice here. But I'm sure this will still sell well. It'd be interesting to see if they can bounce back after Imperator not doing as well as hoped. You know, still 10,000 reviews is nothing to sneeze at, but it's and the mixed reviews and whatnot are not what they were hoping for. But as usual, Paradox making updates and making people happy over time. So I expect that this will just grow and grow. All right, Wasteland 3.
Democracy, equality, and freedom all died when the bombs fell. And we've been walking on their ashes ever since. Tune in tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the dangers of cannibalism.
Yeah, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, you cannibalize people. Don't do that. Yeah, it was an impressive looking trailer. Cool, yeah, I expect this will do reasonably well. Very nice and grimdark. Okay, let's check out the popular new releases. Yeah, so Boneworks selling quite well for a VR-only game. Definitely one of the noteworthy recent releases. Destiny 2 Upgrade Edition. Okay, so you get, so the base game is free, but you get some upgrades if you pay. Hades, obviously we're going to play. GTFO we talked about. RDR2 came out. Very noteworthy, obviously. Paunch. What? Oh, it's free to play. Huh. It's a bunch of guys with paunches just fighting each other, sumoing. Master Chief Collection, Pixel Puzzles. Traditional jigsaws. Oh, it's free to play. Star Wars, Age of Empires. Free to play. Planet Zoo. Free to play. Playcraft. Free to play also. Then we're back to Disco Elysium. Okay, so nothing too surprising in there. Alright, let's look at the Hypestagram. This histogram shows us how many games have been launching recently. So a bit of a spike here. People trying to get in before the winter sale began, I guess. So this is a bit higher than normal. So yeah, let's look at Harbor's graph here. The moving average of game releases over time. Oh wow, I just refreshed it and it got bumped up. So yeah, before I refreshed, we were down here and we were well below 2018. We're still below 2017 by a decent margin, but yeah, this jumped up higher. So that spike that we just saw, yeah, bumped us up into this territory. Starting to drop, so as it always does towards the end of the year, so... Interesting. Because at the beginning of the year, we were halfway between, 2017, 2018, coming down from 2018 for sure, and then whatever happened here, we were just getting lower and lower, but now it's evened out a bit. But yeah, certainly, as we've said a number of times, not the Indiepocalypse, just never-ending rise as people thought when this started to happen, and this started to happen. It leveled out, and we're below where we have been the last few years. Okay, let's check out what's going on Kickstarter, and then we'll play some Hades. Shelter, pixel action survival game. Okay, we will check you out. Oh, has it got like a base building element as well? Yeah, this definitely could be viable. Feels a bit to the moon-ish, yeah. Or Project Zomboid is somewhat similar, and it did reasonably well too. I like the title. I guess you got to get the Z in there for zombie. Shelter. So 42 days to go. That must mean that it launched fairly recently. It's already got a third of the way to its goal, or 38% of the way to its goal, so it probably will get funded. It does seem like that sort of thing would be viable on Steam. Tangletorn. Oh, this was the one with the vague description. Tangletorn will be ripped to shreds as a knockoff. Yeah, I'm not sure about the motion graphics work going on here. Well, that smoke had many frames per second. They still haven't shown it. There we go. I'm amazed at how long did that take. It took like a minute 45 to get to the gameplay mechanic, which probably is the main reason why someone would be interested. So yeah, based on what Chris says, that you should make sure that they understand what genre. They took a long time to get to genre here, which I think is probably a mistake. and that description was vague and didn't say that it was a card battler. I wonder if they're trying to avoid being compared to Slay the Spire, or people say that it's a knockoff, so they kind of bury it. But welcome. Hades is in early access, which means we're actively working on it based on our plans and your feedback. We expect to keep adding features, characters, weapons, powers, environments, and more while expanding the storyline and fine-tuning all aspects of the experience. On the next screen, select patch notes for our latest changes, or press the next major update button and learn more about what's coming up on our development roadmap. And good luck getting out of hell. Supergiant Games. Thank you, Supergiant. Next major update live in 33 days. Yeah, I wonder does anybody know what cadence they're releasing updates? Let's see the patch notes. Why not? December 17th, so they patched it since they updated. So I guess the other thing is a major update, but this is just a patch. This small patch focuses on localization improvement and bug fixes, thus wrapping our Welcome to Hell update. Next is our major update in January. Until then, we're looking over all your feedback and making plans for an exciting year to come. Happy holidays, and thanks so much for your support. They have a nice font system here. Another one just a few days before. They've been updating it frantically recently. Wow, this is like 4 updates in the last few weeks. Oh, is this my save from before? So I guess it knows that I played, even though it was an Epic Store. It must be saving it in the same spot on the computer. Yeah, that's what I was saying off the top of the show, is that it's a very viable genre, and it's a beautiful, very well-made game for sure. But yeah, are there any...
Numbskulls.
Oh yeah, I remember these guys being a pain in the butt. No, they're not. Maybe when there was 1 million of them? I thought that there was like a ton of them last time. Or there was like a thing that was generating them. Yeah, if you can think of things that are innovative about the gameplay, please... Oh, ouch. Let us know in the chat. You started building different weapons into somewhat of class design, but they need a lot of drops to upgrade now. You can change your shield weapon to throw a floating damage field, but it starts off stupidly weak, or the bow can have a homing... Yeah, I remember there's that meta thing where you, back in your base or whatever, after you die, there's weapons that you have that are... you can change over time. The bow can have a homing system. Biggest system would be packed, though, since it allows on-the-fly difficulty adjustments. So how does that work, Eclipse? That sounds interesting. The builds you can get differ quite a lot based on the weapons and gods you choose. Between the 3 options the gods give you, the shops and the room entrances, there are a lot of small decisions, but mainly good execution of an action roguelike. Yeah, it feels great. Like when you start a run, the players select various things. Stronger bosses, more enemies, more damage. Oh, okay. So after we die, we'll see. Oh, I triggered this trap by stepping on that pressure plate. What about that? We deflect this back in their face? Yep. Oh, I dashed too late. Well, I did deflect it back in his face, though. Welcome to hell. Your insolence has compelled Lord Hades to serve you a pact of punishment. Here's how it works. It's just you accept things that make your game harder, then you get more heat, and then if you do something while you have a lot of heat on, then you... heat equals difficulty? Okay. You gain materials to upgrade weapons with unique factors, also cosmetic and world changes. Okay. Each weapon you get a special reward for each boss. Lack of cloud save support for Hades is why you stopped playing the Epic Store version? Oh. Wonder why they didn't do this. Yeah, I think it's possible to do. Oh, that's not good. Oh my god, that's...
We're not finished.
Wow, these guys just have a totally different thing. They drop bombs. Was not prepared for this. But yeah, we wanted to play Hades in order to figure out, has it changed significantly from the last time we played it? What, reasons could we come up with why it might be selling as well as it is? And yeah, I think it's just a well-polished game in a viable genre of roguelikes. Yeah, it's the power-up system and the metagame progression and whatnot are pretty addictive. And yeah, I think it was smart of them to give away a copy of Pyre, or the giftable copy of Pyre as well, for people who buy the game early. I think that's probably helping too. But yeah, I think it just shows that the backlash that comes with having a game be Epic Store exclusive for 12 months. There are some vocal folks who are upset about that, but the majority of Steam users don't seem to care. They're still buying the game if they're excited about the game, which is great news. And Hades has done well, whereas Ashen not so much, but the review scores on Ashen are lower, so it does seem to be just the usual thing. If the game is high quality and people like it and it's a good fit for the Steam audience, it'll do well despite being on Epic previously, which is great news for us at Brace Yourself Games and lots of other folks who have games on Epic too. So, all right, well, have a good holiday, everyone. We'll see you next decade.